hip-hop writer is a creator composing understanding words of cultured brilliance, powering a rebalance of the elements equally. Pages of rejuvenated reaffirmation, simply the almighty leadership of insightful craft work that stands to build through any confrontation born to be. Yet his daily duty is as a journalist that questions properly and uses his ears to filter the real. And as the art decays by dilution, he concentrates the best again and again, exposing it in the print. Today's journalist and tomorrow's historian, he listens to share. Here is that necessary attempt executed again and again and again. This is the Power Right Show on S.STREET Media. This is your brother, the lone low life with the home-sewn garment, the Boricua with the build, Hector Lovo, the true and living God, stepping in score, Sunyas Allah, a.k.a. S.STREET Low, and we're on S.STREET Media, the evolution of media, where every intrigue will have its own show, every incredible thought will have its own episode, and every timeless insight will be archived. And as I said, this show is about my element of hip-hop, what I call the writer of art on art and science on music. That means that this is the only show in history on the hip-hop writer element that I, a veteran of over 25 years, helped to pioneer. That means I wrote through all these bullshit spaces, though. That means that I got all my shit clipped up and fucked up and destroyed so that way I could bring some type of creativity one day. And you'd read it and say, wow, that's like about a great piece of art I really love, and I learn more about it. And it's also like its own fucking piece of art. Trying to do the both because, real simple, I felt if I covered the artist only, I wouldn't be part of hip-hop. I just would be looking at hip-hop. And I wanted my stuff to be hip-hop. I wanted it to be creative. And so that became my innovation that I added on to. And in this era that I call the invisible renaissance, there's so much inspiration that has come in qualitatively and quantitatively. A lot of shit, you know what I mean? And my books are out now. The Filtered Real Essays from the Invisible Renaissance. That book is out. It's on Amazon. You could DM me on the IG, Sunyas97, SUNEZ97 at gmail.com for any of the books. I also have ebooks, The Real of 2020. And yo, I got The Real of 2021 coming as a hard copy book. It's going to be a print copy book, not a hard copy, a print copy book, and it's also going to be an ebook. And that's going to include The Real of 2020 in there too, because people wanted that as a print book as well. So it's going to conclude all that. So it's going to be the only book that really details all of the great music the last 2 years. Not just the shit that I thought, like, this is my favorite, and I picked 5 records out of fucking 600 that I heard in the last 2 years that I think are quality. So everything from what I think is the good to the great to the exceptional is in that book, and it's broken up into different brackets, overlapping brackets, because everybody is not just in one thing. And overlapping brackets, like my guest today, who overlaps a lot of great brackets, producer, MC, 5%, street lyricist, a lot of brackets he ends up filling the bill, you know what I'm saying? And so that book is broken up into these brackets, and it's going to be something special. It's going to be something that's never been done, and people see it. And you don't have to just love the best of what I think is the best. You can even make your own decisions, because that's how I write. That's what science on music is. You know what I mean? Real quick, as always, I always shout out my other partner show, Classic Storm Radio, DJ Toshi's Classic Storm Radio. My brother DJ Toshi celebrated his 14th year. I love DJ Toshi. You know what I'm saying? Nobody I know does as much for hip-hop. It doesn't mean anything else about people in hip-hop. But I know, aside from myself, no one does as many things for hip-hop without getting paid and just for the love than DJ Toshi.
Shout out to Toshi.
You know what I'm saying? He does so much for everybody and so much for me.
Facts. Facts.
You know, we love Toshi. You know what I mean? And we just did the 299th episode. So we haven't done the 300th because he's wanted to be epic and everything. So I just I'll just wait for him. But we did the 299th episode, which was pretty epic. DJ JS1, one of the great DJs, one of the great graph writers. You know what I mean? So that was epic too. So check that out. Go to DJ Toshi Classic Storm.podomatic.com. Check out the last episode of the Power Show with the god Elo Kush. That was a great one. We built about his 3 great works this year. And if you're trying to learn, if you want to learn some martial arts, though, if you want to learn martial arts, get into martial arts. not only in the New York City area, but abroad. I'm teaching that as well. I've been doing this for over 20 years. It's called my Concentrated Supremacy Program. So basically putting everything that you need to know in a very concentrated level. Also, we call it Concentrated Supremacy because I'm short. And I teach all you short niggas how to really get down. None of these big niggas got nothing. You know what I mean? You gotta learn how to use your body the right way. You know what I'm saying? And if that don't work, I teach you how to use weapons too. You know what I mean? But really the lifestyle of the martial artist. You know, the depth of the insights, the awareness, the lifestyle, the culture. All of these things were things that were passed down to me, and I learned them. So DM me for my rates, email me for the rates and everything. I also teach on Zoom too, and I've taught students via the Zoom as well. So if you're out of state, that's peace too. Whew, all that said and done, I'm gonna say this though, and this is something that I have to be clear with. I think that my guest is as close to being a great that's an absolute legend as you could get. And the reason I say that is because I think that by the end of this decade, or maybe just 2 or 3 more years, it'll be absolute, basic, actual fact that my guest is a legend, if he isn't already. And it's one thing where the joy of hip-hop music, like all the great genres of music, is that you listen to them deeper and hear more in it. And nothing is more like that than Agallah's music, you know, my guest. And
thank you for having me, Soonez.
We got,
thank you for that.
Indeed. And you know, I'm gonna tell you this straight up. I've done a lot of research, done a lot of behind the scenes talking. People talk to me because I don't snitch. I don't snitch on samples, I don't snitch on people, I don't snitch on anything.
Right.
So I could tell you the truth that I know of what I've learned. Agallah has no fraudulent business dealings.
No.
Agallah puts on artists that you didn't know about. You know why? Because when he puts them on, I'm the only one that knew about him. And I'm like, wow, what a surprise.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? That's nice. You know what I mean? Before they blew up, before they were anything, he blows them up. And that continues on to these records today. And then also, if we love hip-hop and the music of hip-hop, and its understatedness, where like the depth of the music is obsessively addictive, I don't think there's anyone else that does it like Agallah. You know what I mean? Where after a while you're listening and like, yo, I can't stop listening. It's an addiction. It's really terrible. And now, you know, after this week, I'm going to have to start studying somebody else to interview, and I'm fucked because I still want to listen to Agallah.
I mean, but, it's a pleasure to be here. You know, first off, you know, hats off to you for the build and, you know, what you're doing. You know, I've been in this game for over about 30 years now, and realizing that, you know, it was a baby. You know, it wasn't even, you know, this was a baby when I came in the door. Now it's a grown-up, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, and next year I feel like, you know, probably, you know, it's going to, you know, be defining the next 5 years of my career will be very defining for me from here on out, how I try to release records, how, you know, coming next year, reinventing myself again, you know, which is a major part of, you know, why I'm here long, and the longevity, you know, is there to show. You know, I mean, for a lot of artists that, you know, I respected, you know, top peers that I looked up to are not active as this, you know, as I am right now. But I still got the respect for them, and the lane is there, you know what I mean? But my activity, you know, is increased, I would say, over the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, that's an understatement, like fuck right there. You know what I mean? Like, you know? And the thing is, though, is that the quality, and I think one thing that the amount of quantity that you've thrown out has allowed me to see the depth of thing, because certain devices I think you've mastered, and hearing more music from you has allowed me to say, wow, he keeps doing this perfect again and again. So it's like this. This is what I'm saying.
Right.
You know how we watch basketball, right? And like, you remember I always pick, when people say what's the favorite, I always pick Jordan, and this is with Jordan and Kobe. I always like I love Jordan Kobe 24.
Right.
And I love Jordan the last 3 years the best.
Right,
because
right,
you see more artistry. You
well,
know,
somebody
like
compared
detail.
somebody. I forgot. I was speaking to somebody and they compared me to Cal Ripken. I don't know if that line,
you know
if that lines it up. You know,
I can see with the longevity
with the Iron Man.
Yeah,
you know,
I'd say better because the output wasn't as strong for Cal Ripken because he worked so hard. I would definitely say more like a Hank Aaron.
Hank Aaron.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like on that level.
Okay.
Because these were bigger hitters, you know?
Right. Nah,
yeah.
I feel you.
You know?
I feel you on
and
that.
Here's what I mean, because I realized that as I go through all of these albums, because I want to focus a lot on the 2020, 21 years. And because there's great interviews with you, great builds with Doggy Diamonds and others.
Yes.
Where people have really saluted you well on your career, you know? And I think that what you've done the last 2 years, which includes this year, right? We could add other years in this entire era I call the Invisible Renaissance since 2010.
But this year, these last two.
They rank with anything you've done in your career, and I find that mind-blowing. Let me give some devices to the listener, because I'm going to keep going back to them. And it's like seeing that Jordan fadeaway again. You never get tired of it.
Nah.
You know what I'm saying? But there's something that when he does, I can't think of many producers, right? I have always loved producers that fill the room with space. But Agallah does almost the opposite. So, you know, like for example, where Pete Rock will double drum, they'll thicken the room, they'll thicken the bass.
Right.
Everything will be filled, right? Or other producers like, you know, Bomb Squad, they were filling it with chaos, right? Mm-hmm. A cacophony of things, you know what I mean?
Right.
When Agallah makes his tracks, it's almost like you create more space because all the stuff ends up being separated. So I'm hearing things here, and all of a sudden, the oral space in my head for the track is much bigger than I thought it would be. It isn't just bass, rhyme, drum, bass, rhyme, drum. It's all these other things, and it's because every track, you don't know what's going to be in the forefront. Sometimes it could be the strings, sometimes it could be the drums, sometimes it could be the bass. And it's such a joy to find everything in the track. Nobody is really doing that.
I spend a lot of time going back to, you know, I just don't make a beat. I go back every day I wake up. I go back to my works and see what levels ain't right. If beyond me making it, I have two different processes. When I'm making something and then stepping outside of myself to listen to it is a whole nother process than me making it. So I try to I detach all emotions from me as a producer when I'm listening to my own shit. I try not to be biased. I'm like, yeah, you could do this better, you can do that better. You know what I mean? You know, because once you put something out, it's out forever. People gonna, you know, you're not gonna be able to get it back. You know what I mean? Like, to where you like, oh, I need to do that over. You should have brought the vocals up or whatever. You know, you go through that as an artist a lot. And after a while, I started figuring out, you know, let me get the right levels. Let me, you know, find out what these plugins do to make my shit sound better or whatever the case may be. I have to be a technician. You got to stay on it. Even if you didn't go to school for it or whatever, you still got to be able to figure out a way. You know what I mean? Find a way. You know what I mean? Like, I watch a lot of boxing. You know, George Kambosos, they thought he was the underdog. Boy, done took Teofimo Lopez belts. They was sleeping on him. He found the way to win. You know what I mean? Even, you know, that's how I look at it. I'm considered an underdog a lot, but I find a way to win. I always find a way to win.
Mm-hmm. You know, with these tracks, and I'm going to give specific examples of them, but I had to sum it up in the beginning, have you talk about them, because I find this amazing how I hear different vocal points. Also, too, another note, I don't think anybody I can think of samples strings and orchestral strings
right
so well and uses vocals in a completely different way. In other words, let's say everybody tries to do what I think my favorite does. Bronze Nazareth, my brother Bronze Nazareth, the way he'll sample a soul vocal and put it in there, right?
Right.
Everybody tries to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And they'll put weak drums and then, blah, blah, blah. And then, we love it because we like the vocal sample. Like you sample, let's say, I'm saying anybody, you sample Phyllis Hyman. That's my favorite.
Right.
I'm going to love it. Even if it has whack drums or something like that, because I love Phyllis Hyman, but I'll be like, you didn't, But the thing is that there's a thing that you do with vocals that's completely different. You'll be making almost like a choir out of a vocal sample.
Yeah.
So the background sounds like, all in the background. And then you'll use another lead vocalist sample from something else. And it'll chime in on the vocal.
Yeah, I mean, I try to.
It's one of the dopest things.
I feel like being a producer and when you find a vocal sample, you have to be able to sound manipulated. You can't just live with just sampling it. You have to manipulate it, and that's what I do. I manipulate all samples that I sample. Put things, I stack different sounds on it to give me a different feel, and I do that because I don't want my shit sounding like nobody else. I think my shit is better than a lot of these rapper producers out here, and they know it. They know it. They don't want to admit to it because they're studying me, and I know what they're doing. They going home, they studying my shit, and they going to get a budget because they know somebody that. I know the game too well. That's why I'm independent. I just stay in my lane, keep producing shit. Don't tell a lot of people what you're doing, and just drop when you drop it. And the real fans that's loyal gonna stick with me. They've been sticking with me. The rest of the game is smoke and mirrors. You know what I mean? And that's how I look at it. You know what I mean? A bunch of fake people in this industry that show you love 1 minute and don't fuck with you the next. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I do it.
Right.
I stay loyal to my fans. Let them niggas know I'm coming with an album, or I just dropped an EP today with a producer. You know what I'm saying? Shaughnessy. And, I don't know him from a can of paint, but at the end of the day, I wound up doing 4 songs with him. It's out. Go cop it. You can get it from me. It's that kind of vibe where, the art is just art. You know what I mean? Art imitates life, life imitates art, so they say. You know what I mean? I don't, I try not to be the music guy all the time. You know what I mean? Like, known for just that. You know what I mean? I got a real life outside of being an artist. You know what I mean? This is all I want to do. But at the end of the day, we got to grow in life spiritually, do other things, take care of our family, make sure we safe health-wise and all that, and keep the bread flowing.
It's interesting you say that, right? And I find that so interesting because I feel like people don't really listen, and because so many rappers lie, that's a fact, it's so hard to put the stories in context because you as a real person very much comes off on record. You know what I'm saying? As a real life person that goes through street shit, family shit, life shit,
right.
struggle shit, artist shit, and people still don't always understand that. And I think that's also not really your fault. I really find it to be a fault of the dreams of the listener. You know what I'm saying? When you see on social media, the way that fans and the way that listeners of hip hop think about rappers, it blows me away. Because I'm like, have you heard any of my interviews? Have you been doing analysis to anything that we've been doing here at S.STREET Media? Like, right? These are real people that make records, and some of their life is treacherous, and a lot of it isn't. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I mean, I almost died in the tunnel. You know what I'm saying? That changed a lot for me. You know what I mean? I went to the tunnel one night, got stabbed in my neck. You feel me? Just going to the unisex bathroom. Somebody pickpocketed me. I got into a scuffle in the bathroom with dude, and he cut my neck. I died a few times already. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, coming back from near-death experiences and, shit like that. I'm from Brownsville. You know what I mean? A lot of niggas think I'm from Harlem. Some niggas might think I'm from, I was with Purple City. You know, niggas might think I'm from the Bronx. You know, I used to live in Staten Island too. That's why I fuck with the Wu. You know, I got a real good relationship with the Wu for many years. But my thing is that, I was there when this shit first started. Like I said, I'm from Blake Avenue. You know what I mean? And, you know, a lot of other, you know, people came from Blake Avenue, you know, Mike Tyson, you know what I'm saying? He from Amboy Street, but that's right up the block, you know what I'm saying? I used to see him every day. Shout out to my brother Shannon Briggs. You know, Let's Go Champ, you know, even Zab, you know, we grew up as kids.
I've often called Brownsville the Kingston of hip hop, you know what I mean?
Right.
It has that vibe, it has that essence, but even when we go in hip hop and all the greats that come from Brownsville, you're that top tier producer from there. I'm just mentioning that. I mean, you know, it's an amazing thing.
And MC.
Right. You know,
right.
Indeed. One of the other devices, I'll give two other main devices before we go into details here. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Especially in these last 2 years, there's the dropping the beat, going from a cappella or just background music and then dropping those drums. It's such a mastery. Every single time that you have done it, I've wanted to punch a wall. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
It gets me hyped. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? It's just amazing that you do it. And the last thing that I'll mention now, one of the great devices that you have in production is what you just mentioned. You as an MC. You know what I mean? Like I was thinking about it as like when people mention the great voices, they usually don't mention yours. And when we hear, you know, everybody, if they're correct, they always mention Guru. They always mention, you know, God's X because their voices are so unique. But your voice is incredible. And most people today in the underground try to have a voice that goes that deep and that gravelly. You know what I'm saying? A voice that it has like a hoarseness, a gravelness. It's like you drank, you know,
this is my natural voice.
You know?
This is my natural voice. So,
right.
You know, shout to Maddie C. You know, I used to, you know, in my salad days when I, you know, came up when I was, you know, doing demos and shit, trying to get signed. Before I got signed to East West and before I got signed to Tommy Boy, I was, you know, unsigned hype in the Source. And I'm unsigned hype alumni, you know what I mean? But my demo got a lot of people's attention, and 18 labels came looking for me. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, I didn't know it was going to have that effect. I was just trying to get one deal, wound up getting 18 offers. You know what I'm saying? From major labels. You know what I'm saying? This, you know what I mean? And, you know, I think I made history on my own palette that nobody ain't see it coming. A new God, fresh. You know what I mean? I came from, you know, I was in a group home when I first got back to New York to get my deal. I wasn't really in the New York area. I was, you know, in a group home for about 2 years. And then when I got released, I came back to New York. I seen an opportunity for me to start freestyling in the park with these other rappers. And I started doing that at Washington Square Park, where I would see Talib, Mos Def, you know, they was like with me on my, you know, on my journey to become who I was. Like at that time, I was at Lyricist Lounge with Danny. They know me. I was there paying my dues in them little cribs over there on Essex Street and off of Delancey. I was in that first crib, bodying. You know what I mean? For real. And I put a lot of, you know, that's why ate off the assassin days. You know, I battled everybody. I was out here battling everybody. I was giving everybody the business back then. Giving everybody the business back then, like as Adolf. And I felt like I became a rising star, shot to fame very quickly. At the end of the day, that almost killed me. and I had to come back and reinvent myself as Agallah. That's really, you know what I mean, who I am at the end of the day. Adolph was somebody for that moment that was trying to find himself and then wind up going through a lot of reality, you know, getting back to reality, humble, you know, the industry humble you. And I was humble.
And you know, that influence, though, of that frenetic, energetic intensity, I don't think a lot of people understand how much energy you had on stage when you rhymed. I mean, it was like a heavy. You were more like a heavy metal performer than
right.
An
Yeah,
MC,
yeah. I was a wild as Adolph. Adolph was a whole different.
Yeah. Because when I seen you perform back then,
I was
like, yo, his eyes gonna pop out.
I was into the extremity of rocking hardcore. Really, I was into really rocking hardcore.
Right.
As far as the lyricists, and I you know, this is around the time when, you know, I would say my style was kind of compared to Foul Munch and them. Like, it was kind of compared to them at the time, the style that I was on. 'Cause I was rhyming like hypothetical mad scientist of evolution, soliloquy of murder, poetical pollution. I was going there with it, but I was spitting at a high level for the age I was at. They was like, yo, what the fuck? Sign this nigga immediately. And I got with Tommy Boy. They ain't know what to do with me, and wound up going to East West and putting out Ghetto Girl over there because they, you know, I came with a skill set. You know what I mean? I came with tools in the toolbox like a boxer. You know, not only he can make beats, but the boy could rap. He can do a lot. You know what I'm saying? He can ghostwrite for you. He can do anything. You know
I think your voice solidified you know, over the years. It's also solidified the success that people want to hear raps with such a deep, unique baritone like that. You know what I mean? Well, because everyone makes their voice harder than it is. You know what I'm saying?
I you know, I smoke a lot of blunts that you know,
right. That developed it more.
Attributes to the voice. But at the end of the day, nah, man. I grew up playing basketball a lot. A lot of basketball. I wanted to be a boxer too, you know, and you know, I think sports played a huge part in the tenacity that I'm able to bring to the studio as an artist too. You know what I mean? Because my work ethic, I love the work. I don't get by being lazy. Every second to me on that clock, I want to make something out of it. You know what I'm saying? I take time very seriously. You know what I mean? And what I do is stay focused because there's a lot of ways to jump ship out here, and you know the even going to the club these days, you know, going outside, just outside your door you know, it's very dangerous. You know what I'm saying? You know, making moves in life, people think, you know, you got to do extra shit. You're not affected by the society. When you do music, it affects the people in society. They look at that shit, the niggas out here that's not where you at, it affects them. You know what I'm saying? It affects them because they want to be where you at. They want what you have. And it's a lot of, you know, a lot of people. That's why I'm like, damn, how did I get in this position? You know what I mean? Not for other artists to hate me, not for other artists to look at me like I look down on them. That was never part of my agenda. Come in this game and be hated upon or have a view about somebody else's work. I really didn't understand where I was gonna stand from years from then to now, when we got this internet thing going heavy and social media runs people's lives. You know what I mean? It's like how we get our news now, and there's no dodging, you know, somebody making a comment about you. There's no dodging that, you know what I mean? Like, people do it online if they feel they need to say something about you. It's right there. The world's the stage right on Twitter for them to say something about you. So I just take it easy with my life, and I just try to stay out that way. I'm a professional sucker ducker. You know what I mean? The duck suckers for a living.
Indeed. You know, we were talking about basketball, right?
Right.
And when we start into these great albums of 2020, right? And I would give a special highlight to these last 2 years. The first album you put out was The Rona, and it came out in the beginning of March. And you turned me into Skip Bayless. You know what I'm saying? Because I was like, I don't want to hear no gimmicks with this thing. And then I was like, Agallah was coming out with The Rona, and I didn't hear it yet. But I was once you said you were coming out with it, I was like, I turned Skip Bayless. I said, well, what are you doing? All of a sudden, you were LeBron. I was like, what are you doing? You're bigger than this. This is a gimmick. I was like, in my head, I'm like, yo, this is a gimmick. I don't know about this. And I've even said this on the show, that I thought it was a gimmick. And then when I heard it, though, it was, first off, it had a lot of the jewels that have come to pass. And as a bonus, I think it has one of the most beautiful songs on
Prophecy,
there.
brother.
You know what I mean?
Prophetic. Prophetic.
Absolutely.
Prophetic.
It
was prophetic that I made that.
Absolutely
prophetic. Because I seen things coming. I seen it coming like a Nostradamus. Like them 2 projects really shed light on this whole pandemic. Because everybody thought everybody didn't really have the facts down.
No.
But
right.
I did my research enough because you know what? I deal with people all over the world. Mm-hmm. I don't base it just off what the U.S. thinks. I got people in Nigeria. I got people in Germany. I got people in London. I got people all over. I'm telling you, fans in places you never fucking think. They talk to me, though. I talk to certain people, and what I found out is that a lot of this shit that was happening during Trump's run was a lot of propaganda that was getting fed, and we kept getting, white stormed by the mediocrity that we couldn't really see what the real fucking agenda was. And a lot of this shit, even with Biden, today with Joe Biden, I hate to say it, I wish we did have Trump back, because at least I could deal with that bullshit than his bullshit. Like, it's,
in a lot of ways, I agree. I think that
it's like now we wanted him out of office. Now we like, we found out the truth about Biden, what he's doing. Now I'm like, we wish we had this motherfucker back.
We didn't want fascism, so we didn't want Trump. And now we're dealing with fascism with Biden. You know what I'm saying? With mandates, with forced mandates, anything like that is absolute fascism.
Plus the gas prices just went up.
And you said this.
Shit crazy.
First track, the first title track of the album, The Rona, you said, make you ill, then they sell you the cure. And this is the year that we're in. They're selling us the cure. And you said this in March 2020. You know what I mean? And to me, it should have been evident once people saw Bill Gates in the mix. You know what I mean? But track 2, you start talking, there's sample snippets of the concepts of transhumanism. And transhumanism begins with the idea to control brain. That sounds so far-fetched, but if you go and break it down into constituent parts, transhumanism is about the idea to know what people are doing at all times. That's the same shit as control the brain. If I know everything you're doing, then I can tell you exactly what you need to do, and you will follow it. One of the ways they do it is by the algorithms, knowing everything what you're doing.
Exactly. Then like, you ever talk with your friend? Like, 1 minute you having a conversation about something, like a product, and then you turn your phone on and the shit is right fucking there?
Yeah.
This is why I know they're listening.
Yeah.
So, like, this is like one big synchronization with the world going on with, algorithms and how they control people, how they control branding, and how they feed the brain the information. You know what I'm saying? How they feed your brain information
and what
is by, these devices, these phones,
right.
GPS, and your whole life is GPS.
Here's another thing, because I don't want people to get caught up in the idea, he was just talking conspiracy like cool rappers do. You mentioned a lot of things about 5G, but all of these, 5G, 4G, 3G, they've all been shown by studies to cause radiation poisoning.
Right.
All of them. It's just that you don't see it evidently unless for people that live near those towers. You know what I mean? But you see it immediately for people that live near the towers. So all of these things are dangerous to you, and we're forced to use these things. You know? The other thing is this. The spike protein that is synthetic that is being put into us is nanotech. It is technology.
Wow.
It is the actual technology that is going in us. And this is a precursor to other things. You know what I mean? If they can work artificial technology as a vaccine, this becomes a successful step to other things. And all of this is in this album, and it's amazing. Aside from, you know, the music being great.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The music being great. You know, an example, and I want to point this out as we go along. When I talked about creating spaces that are dynamic, in the track where you hear all these things happening, but you don't hear them drowning you. They're not drowning you. They're there to enjoy. Like, you hear everything, the vocals cut right through properly. Listen to Knowledge God with Lil B. The way the backgrounds have chaos, but they don't spill and be like, he didn't do this properly. It's sloppy.
Right.
It's just, just right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
everything goes the right way.
And you know, I shot the Little B. You know, a lot of people, you know, don't take him serious as a person. I don't know if, you know, how he lives. I don't really know him personally. But how that record happened, how that record happened was that he's a fan of me. He grew up listening to me. I'm like, he's like, oh shit, you one of the dopest MCs I was growing up listening to. And it really, I was like, damn, you listen to me growing up, and this guy, you know, he's pretty popular. Right. But at the end of the day, you know, I heard him freestyle one time. I was like, yo, you actually could freestyle, the kid, you know? And he got on the track with me, and we wound up doing it, you know what I mean? Because, you know, it is music at the end of the day. Right. So, you know, I really don't condone for other artists' personal lifestyles, but at the end of the day, we did something dope on that. Shout to him, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You know, I just, you know what I mean, so cut off from the, you know, how people, you know, view, you know, certain collabs and shit. I'm cut off from that, you know, that whole viewership of, criticism that fans want to have.
You made a really great song with him, and he had some really good rhymes. He had really good, insightful ideas.
Right.
The song works perfectly. I was the same. I was like, oh, shit. I got to skip here?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I was like,
you wind up that, and you know what? You wind up didn't skipping, and that
became one of the best songs on the album.
Right. I put enough into it so it didn't wind up seeming like, oh, he got Little B on album. What the fuck is Agallah doing a song with Little B for? And that's what motherfuckers are saying. Like, how did you do a song with Little B? I'm like, yo, the niggas. You know, niggas was a fan. You know what I mean? So you think I'm a shit, and the nigga's famous, nigga. So at the end of the day, he got records with a couple of famous niggas. Like, he's on a few albums. So even if niggas don't like him, the nigga still, he was a good look for me to do a song where I did the damn song. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and keep moving. It's a great look because it came out to be a great song. You know
Facts.
Factory. Look, so many songs here, the face card. I just wanted to note the strings as a siren horn.
Wow.
So it's almost like you're using the strings, but as like a horn. I mean, just think about that shit for a minute. Go listen to that and see what I'm trying to say there. And then like the bass bottom, it'll just bottom out and just spread out naturally. You know what I mean? Like some of these songs, like the instruments are like a sandwich. Like we're just spreading shit on a sandwich. Like,
yeah, we out here. You know what I mean?
You know what I mean?
Yeah, we I come from, you know, that soulful music era. You know, at the end of the day, I listen to rock and roll too.
Right.
Cause there's a lot of soul in there too. If you find the right loops and find the right, you know, obscure enough samples that you can chop and flip.
Right.
That you can, you know, build on because, you know, I mean, I'm weird. I when it comes to sampling, I'm real fucking weird. Like, I would, you know, sometimes I'll just sit there and loop some shit for a while, just sit there and listen to it, smoke one, and just smoke to it. And just, you know, see how it feels after a while. See, like, you know, I always try to be like, damn, then I'll be like, damn, I get tired of that loop. What can I do to change it? Start pulling out the keyboards, playing on top of it, stacking. You know, like I said, stack on them loops, man. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Thank me later, man. Don't just sample. Play on them motherfuckers, man. Right, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Sometimes you gotta, do a dirty bastard move. You know what I mean? Like if you could do some notes over your own shit.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You got something harmonizing.
You could kill a note in this motherfucker like, oh, and sample that, nigga, and then throw some effects on that, and then put it, you know what I mean? You just gotta you gotta use your imagination. And I tell niggas, it's there for you. The beautiful music that you want to create is there for you to create it. You know what I mean? You just gotta be able to have the good heart going into it. Shout out to my homie Jabril Torre, who's my bass player, music director. He said, man, you don't even need a music director. And he's a music director. He told me I don't even need one, and I ain't even go to school for music. I think it's just naturally understanding this is a high science. Once you know it's a high science, you're not going to come at it like a song and dance. I come at this like a high science, not like a song and dance. When I was doing it for the industry, when I made Ghetto Girl, that was a song and dance. After I left the dance, it was back to the drawing board, back to the science. Was the people only gonna know you in this business for the last hit that you made? And you gotta ask yourself as an artist, do I have any real hits, even though I may be hot on the street, but what is my last hit? And then the room goes quiet. You understand that? And that's a real statement. I don't do this and a lot of people live off that industry level of thinking that they got to do it for the hits. But you could be an artist that puts out EPs. You could be an artist that puts out albums. Or you can be an artist that just puts out singles. And if one hits, one of the songs hit, they get on the radio, 3 hit, and you can be like a Drake one day and make a lot of money and be those type of guys, you know what I mean? But, to me, it's like some of these artists, they're, like the Drakes and the J. Coles, they're good artists, I'm not taking nothing from them. But then, you're predictable. It's like it becomes predictable. I know what you're getting ready to hit me with. Your next album gonna sound the same way that last album almost did. You growing as a person. Don't get me wrong, but you making great music. But it's predictable music. I know what to expect from a lot of these cats. Like that's why I don't even I know what Drake gonna sound like on his next album. He's gonna be doing that trap shit, singing again. I'm getting tired of it. You know what I'm saying? It's like even when T-Pain started saying, "What are you going to come with next?" Even him, as an artist, he was doing a lot of the auto-tune. As we know, T-Pain, he was using auto-tune a lot. And, one day you wake up out of your sleep and go, I'm fucking tired of my own fucking shit. I gotta change this shit now. Right. I'm tired of this shit going on around me. These niggas keep sounding like each other, sounding like the next nigga that's coming out. I can't even tell who's who anymore, nigga. Like the same drums getting used, same drum pattern, niggas using triplets, niggas double timing all over the fucking place. You know what I'm saying? It's a new world. Don't get me fucking wrong. I ain't mad at niggas. We been doing that shit since Bone. And that shit already got introduced to us through them niggas, Bone and Freestyle Fellowship. You know what I mean? I'm from a different level, like I said. I love these new niggas. But don't get it fucked up, youngins. I did this shit already. I've been where y'all niggas at right now. I lived this life already. Leave me out of that young nigga conversation. I am fucking a grown man, you know what I'm saying? Real grown, at the level where I don't need to be mentioned with these young dudes. No disrespect to none of them. I'm even though I'm still getting played on, I'm getting played along with a lot of these young dudes. Absolutely. Don't get it fucked up. I've been here for it, and that's what, niggas need to know. Like, I'm just not the dude that walked into the studio, 2 years ago and decided to lay a track with this certain producer. Now, we've been doing this since this shit started. True story. You know what I mean? And my you know, Red Alert's like my uncle. You know what I mean? Not by music either. We talking like family. You know what I'm saying? My godfather, Jose, ran Soul Shack Records with King, with big, you know, Rakim, Bismarck, all the golden era greats walked through that door, Soul Shack on Pickett Avenue. That was my godfather and Russ. You know, my godfather, Jose. Niggas know who Jose is? That's where I get my story from, because that's where the inspiration I got that to be a DJ and all that shit, you know, came from him. Came from that one store. You know what I mean? Like watching them going in there as a kid, seeing LL Cool J in there, being starstruck. When radio first came out, you know what I mean?
Right.
Shit like that. You know what I mean? Like I got to experience that firsthand. You know what I'm saying? Like Run DMC. Right, you know what I mean? My Run DMC experiences. You know what I'm saying? When I was a kid. They knew my godfather, so it was like, damn, I couldn't believe I looked up to Run DMC. You know what I mean? That was like one of my favorite groups of all time. Wound up being on tour with them. You know, when Run asked me to open up for them, introduce them. And that was a high honor. I'll never forget that day. And I was in Germany in front of 70,000 people. I'm like, you want me to introduce y'all? Y'all want me to introduce the Kings? Come on, man. I'll never forget that. That's something that's peace. I don't care about. Those are personal moments that I take very deeply, because I looked up to them. I bought a lot of their music growing up. And, you know, wore the Adidas suits, wore the, you know, the Stetson hats. You know what I mean? I was into that. You know what I'm saying? I came right around that era. So I was like, you know, wound up being on tour with Run DMC, going all over the world with them. That I never saw that coming in my life. Never, ever. Being on the road with Onyx, you know, I produce Onyx.
That's
you know
right.
what I'm saying?
That's right.
So at the end of the day, like, those experiences, you know what I mean, were like, the first eye opening to the big stage that I ever had, and I'm grateful that, you know, I always shout out Run, because Run believed in me. You know, when Onyx didn't really believe in me, they had me around, but they wasn't pushing me like they should have, and they knew that. And Run told them one day, yo, y'all better stop playing with this man. He's the ticket. Run, this on my mother. Run walked in the studio on an Onyx session and stopped it and told them niggas, yo, what y'all doing with this man's career? He's the ticket. Y'all bugging the fuck out. Y'all ain't going to get him, you know what I mean? Get him in the place he need to be. And Run said that shit to them, on God. And you know, from there, I you know, shout to Onyx. You know what I mean? We had personal shit go down between us, but at the end of the day, you know, the truth is the truth. You can't stop a man. I'm a man on a mission. I felt like, you know, I was a man on a mission. You know what I mean? And almost like a runaway train that couldn't be stopped. Sooner or later, I was gonna make it known that I deserve to be on the top tier list of MCing and producing.
I see it.
You know what I mean?
Indeed. And, you know, going back to the you know, Ending the Rona album, it also has that beautiful ode to Kobe and Gigi. You know, I haven't really heard any songs, really. And that becomes the one song, and it's beautiful, you know?
Right, yeah.
It's a beautiful song. Beautiful
I mean, I got to eat with Kobe, you know what I'm saying? I got to eat with him one day, just, you know, at a restaurant out in Hollywood. We happened to just be in the area. And a personal friend of mine, you know, made the introduction. You know what I'm saying? We was just kicking it. He loves hip hop. He loves hip hop.
Right.
And you know, it's just, you know, crazy to see, you know, the effect that he had on the world, not only basketball but the world. Period.
Indeed, a great man.
And you know, I outside of that, had to do something for him because, I realized, even, at his retirement, when he retired, I was out there in LA when he retired. And the effect that he had on the city of LA, was like no other person I ever met in my life that had that effect on LA like Kobe did.
Hey, man.
And, murals, blocks
Indeed.
after block after block after block, murals of him, block after block. I mean, it just doesn't stop the love for him in LA, how much they loved him as a person. And, I don't see that. We don't have that in New York at the Garden. We don't have that figure. We don't have that figure here in this city that gives us hope, that gives us, hope to push on. We don't have that figure. So I don't worry. I got y'all, New York. I'm bringing some of that Kobe back with me from LA to bring back to y'all.
Indeed, man. Remembered in perfection, Kobe, man. The albums you released, in 2020 after, there was a lot of rugged battle bar albums like Fuck You, the album, you know what I mean? Brownsville and 2. When you make these albums though, right? And you were making them, some of them were longer, Fuck You, the album was a very long album. And it had that consistent theme. Right. Some of the stuff we talked about off air, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it kind of was, when you battle rap, it just means more. You know what I mean? Because it has the legacy of what you've seen, and it becomes a real commentary about the way people are moving, about what you've seen. You know what I mean? It becomes more than just a bar.
Yeah, and I'm not out here, moving in some things, you take personal. Some shit you do take personal, and I did take a few things personal. You know what I mean? I took a lot of things personal to heart, like, the fact that people want to, assume, say things, or people that want to criticize, who I am as a person, my personal life. And when you start getting to that level, then, you know what I mean, you bring out a beast. You know what I'm saying? Everybody want to be an ape. I turn into a tiger. A tiger that, has to, understand his, territory. And, I understand that I was being hunted. I felt like I was being hunted for. And, I seen who people was for themselves. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Show me who you are. I know who your peers are too. You know what I'm saying? Right. And that's what I started seeing a lot of, certain things come out the woodwork and reveal itself. Not gonna say no names, but a lot of people, try to point a finger in my direction. You know what I mean? When I was completely out the way, I wasn't even here. I was in LA minding my own fucking business. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, somehow my name gets mentioned in other areas, where people don't really even know me at. Don't even know me personally. Don't have no business even talking to me, or don't even have my phone number that have a beef, but all of a sudden got a beef. Because it's something, and it don't got nothing to do with that person.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that just really out of pocket. Super out of pocket. You know what I mean? And I build with you.
Indeed.
I build with you.
Indeed.
Still build with
for the
you
listener, that's why I don't elaborate. That's why I said things I said in the beginning of the show. I find you to be a brother of honor. You know what I'm saying?
True indeed.
The people you work with, they shining regard, the way you put on new artists. You know what I'm saying? Things that you don't have to do. There's so many artists in here that I read and I'm like, yeah, he doesn't need to put him. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I'm like, and I'm not saying it like he's whack. I'm saying like, yo, he's really dope. But
it's dark days. It's dark days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's dark days. These artists right now, they're doing anything to get on. They'll disrespect anybody if they get the chance to do it, so they can have a name, because You know what I mean?
Right. They had the toughness to say something about somebody that's a veteran.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it is that type of time where we live in those dark times, especially with artists right now that achieved hard work all their years.
You know, I've called this the invisible renaissance this era for the quality of the music and the massive amount of music from 2010 on. But what I find also happening is that the more great music, the more that this underground or where quality music should be and it's not popped out, the bigger it gets, the more industrialized it gets too. So the underground is becoming very, very, where we expect the best quality music is being industrialized. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just making that note. I'm just making that fucking note because
right.
I don't like it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I'm not saying that the situation we're talking about, what we know we're talking about, that is the cause or anything like that. I think it's not. It's just a commentary I have. You know, I'll give an example of a good thing. What I think it was on Aggravated. You had Billion Man Rebellion. You know what I'm saying?
BMR.
You know, BMR. I love BMR. They had me do the intro to their album that came out, Ghost Lineage. I had them on the show. I love these brothers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Great Boricuas, great builders, and they got skills for days. You know what I mean?
Definitely on the watch.
Yeah,
BMR definitely on the watch. They on the watch.
Yeah, you don't see people
they on my
going,
radar. They definitely on my radar.
You don't see people going, oh, I need BMR on my strap, but they got skills that
Shout
are better
to
than
CR.
most of the people. You know what I mean? CF, Shout to them. You know that's an example of the next level artist that Agallah be putting on.
But I did a song with them for one of their projects. I don't know when they put it out, but it's a dope record. I'm on with them. Yes. I don't know when they're gonna release it, but yeah, we recorded a couple records and they just dope. I like working with them.
Know? And I just wanted to give
I know CF. I know CF for years, mad years. You know what I mean? We know each other for a long time. Me and CF. Like I used to live in Jersey City.
Oh,
so
okay.
He know me from the streets, battling out here, being out there, and that's where I know CF from. CF been putting in a lot of work.
Indeed.
A lot of work.
Absolutely. Let's talk about an album that I think years down the line will be considered a classic. Came out in 2020, and I'm very biased now saying that because I ended up being on it. But The Gods Have Arrived with Sadat X. You know
no doubt,
the
peace.
album that you did, you know what I mean? And I'm saying it on air in front of you, Agallah. The mind-blowing gratitude that I have that you would even ask me to do something on that album with a great that I've always admired, yourself, and a fucking superhero as a youth, Sadat X. You know what I'm saying?
God.
And to be
Peace to the God,
on an album with them, and it's an incredible album. It's concentrated. It has everything. And I throw this out there because it's a great segue because what we were talking about. Because I love the title track because I felt like Sadat X described the issues that people have that are really unfounded the more that they get to know you. You know what I'm saying? And he had said, you may not like the man. You got to do the inflections. Put the Sadat X inflections. You may not like the man, right? But you can never deny his gift, right? And he also said, he may be a little high-strung. I love saying that shit, right? But you can never doubt the fire that he brung. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, yeah, Sadat X like really detailed it. You know what I'm saying?
Perfect.
Because I feel like people don't always get that energy. They don't really understand it. They might consider it abrasive. And they're not really understanding that you just got a lot of intensity in this shit.
Yeah, I mean, in New York, the umbrella of the Bronx, really stands over hip hop to where, you got Fat Joe with the verses and all, and Swiss Beats, they from the Bronx. They gonna stick together. You know what I mean? And I get that about New York is like we, entail Brooklyn as a Jay-Z and Biggie. This is where they're from. This is what we represent as Brooklyn do. I come at it like I lived in all 5 boroughs. You know, I grew up in all 5 boroughs, literally. Even though I'm from the Ville, I lived in Manhattan, I lived in the Bronx, I lived in Queens, and I lived in Staten Island. I
And
lived
we
in
add Jersey City to that
yeah,
too.
I lived out there. I
You
moved
know?
around a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Trust me, it wasn't always. You know, I've been through the trenches. You know what I'm saying? Literally with this music shit. I mean, like, you know, I was listening to a lot of West Coast shit as a kid. You know, then I got into different artists, the Wild Pitch days with, you know, fucking 45 King and Flavor Unit. I've been through all that shit. You know, listening to Ali Bosky and Chill Rob G. You know what I mean? I was into shit like that. A lot of Rakim went through my mind as a kid. You know what I'm saying? A lot. I just never, cause, I mean, you know, I don't know a lot of artists today that could memorize Competition is None. You know what I mean? That's just I just felt like growing up, you know, that, you know, this is who, you know, you got to study the greats. You got to study them. I mean, you know, even though if you want to be a great one day, you got to study the greats. Just like boxing. You know what I mean? Like yesterday, Isaac Cruz fought Tank Davis. We didn't know who the fuck he was. Now that star was born yesterday. That kid gave Tank some problems. You know what I'm saying? But he didn't win the fight, but still, you know, people rock with him because he showed heart. And, you know, you ain't always got to win the fight. You know, you can just win the battle and then come back and, win the battle to come back, lose the battle to come back to win the war. Sometimes you got to learn to pick your right enemies in this game. And, you know, I learned about hip-hop now. It's really not about talent. It's about the popularity. You know what I'm saying? People want to know if you popular or not. Is you popping? Or, you know, you can spend money on yourself all you want, you know what I mean? But, you know, if you ain't out there making it look like a spectacle, people will be like, nah, he ain't it. You know what I mean? You just got to be in the flux. You know, the car talks to the woman now, not the guy. You know what I mean? Everybody does this. People live in a materialistic world for themselves to feel relevant because they could buy the car. They can do this and that. That defines their greatness, right? Like, you know what I mean? The Lambo, you know what I mean? It defines my greatness, you know what I mean? Because I worked so hard to buy a car that's $1 million when I could have just bought a regular fucking whip and got the A and B, because y'all niggas gonna hate me anyway the same way, even if I had a bullshit car. This shit don't change nothing, because your car is ill or your chain big. It don't change the way, you know, people are. It's not gonna change society. You're not doing shit but just waving steak in front of wolves. That's all you're doing. Every time you get something new and you flash it, that's all you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like I seen some rapper just bought this ridiculous chain. I'm like, bro, at the end of the day, the big chain ain't really that important to me, son. I mean, you know, it's good to have jewelry, don't get me wrong, but, you know what I'm saying? I just, you know, I'm not trying to be the nigga to make it so obvious that I gotta have the biggest chain and the best diamonds and all that. That makes me better than you.
Right.
That makes me more better than you. And nah, that's just a false mentality. I fail to accept that.
Indeed.
I fail to accept that.
One of the things that makes the gods have arrived so much is what I mentioned before, is that you and Sadat have two of the greatest voices in music. You know what I mean?
Appreciate that.
It must have been fun to produce with your voice, and then you guys have two of the greatest voices, but they're very contrasting. His is in the high pitch range, and it's based on inflections and going high and low, whereas you keep that baritone going steady, and it's totally different. It's totally different. It makes the song so much fun.
Well, me and him, you know, me and him, man, it's my air like, and much love to Sadat and his family, his manager, for helping make the project happen with Fat Beats, who released it. We just like, yo, man, you know what? We've been friends for so long. We, you know, been doing songs off and on with each other.
A lot of great Sadat acts Sadatics albums in the 2000s.
Yes, he definitely got a lot of projects.
Agallah beats.
He definitely got a lot of projects.
So people remember, like.
And you know, I was like, man, since we did a lot of songs already, man, we should just basically go cook up some new joints. You know, some of the joints that we did that we ain't released yet fully, but you know what I mean? Let's just make this album. And we just did it. And I sent him what I did, and then, you know, we carefully went over everything. And then we just, you know, needed to have that output, the God output, you know, that knowledge of self, because it was a lot of music was, you know, a lot of music don't feed you. You know what I mean? It might just be for a moment. It might be to have some fun for the fun moment, but I'm looking to get fed, you know what I mean, out here. I'm always looking to get fed mental food. So he was like, yo, we definitely got to, you know, be talking about something on this project, you know what I'm saying? We got to really get to the source of why, you know, this bullshit is going on, and we tired. You know what I mean? The God was like, yo, I got to be, you know, talk about something on this shit, not just rapping, man. We just can't be rapping and just be rapping anymore. That's what he said. I'm not rapping to be rapping. You know what I'm saying? I got to say some shit to niggas. I got shit I got to get off my chest here. You know what I mean?
Quick idea about Sadatics and what you think. Sadatics, to me, rhymes in a totally different way now than he ever did.
He like Dave Chappelle to me.
It's almost like...
He rap like Dave Chappelle talk.
It's crazy to say that, because nowadays, like, it's almost like he's a blues singer, because he ends up talking and it becomes the actual bars. Like, it's very conversational on a level I've never heard anybody do before.
It's like Howlin' Wolf.
Yeah.
It's like that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Bluesy.
Yeah.
But hit you with that knowledge of self, and you can hear it. It's like, you know what? Like when you ever back in the days you went to the rallies, you know, the God rally. He rhymed like the gods be at the rallies, you know, right, talk like right. To me, yeah, like yeah. If you want to really go there, he sound like, you know, and the God's a teacher too, you know what I'm saying? So we gotta, you know.
Indeed, that whole cadence, he sound like he could be Dumar Wadi at the Parliament.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And that's why I look at him with that kind of effect that he comes off that way when he rap. But you know,
I think it's amazing.
I think it's years of understanding this 5% culture that really built a lot of artists like the Wu, myself, you know, so many that learn from, you know, the knowledge.
There's a special cadence and a structure with the way that we build.
But he has a unique way. I would say he has a very unique way of getting across.
Yeah.
And that's what makes him Sadatics. And I feel like working with him on that project, for me, that's, you know, I feel like, you know, people want to hear it and put you know, projects up on the table, put that album on, and you gonna get some food. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna get some food. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And the production is incredible. Praise the Lord. The up-tempo high treble drums with those strings again. The strings again.
Yes.
That funky guitar lick on That Cool. Woo! And there's like a bass doubling up in there too.
Right.
The Lean. Very interesting song. It's got like these horror film keys, but the drums sound like it's 10 miles away or some shit. Then the horn sounds somewhere else. And this is what I meant. Like, the space in my head for the song it feels like 50 rooms. You know what I mean? It's crazy how you do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I just feel like, you know, I'm into making sure the drums are there. Because, you know, when you do stuff on digital shit, your dog be like Logic or whatever, it doesn't come out as solid. When you thinking you're sampling into a computer, it's not full audio the way you think it is from where you get. So you're always going to have to manipulate the EQs on everything. You have to EQ drums. You have to put them in different gates, play with them. I like drums that do sound far away but smashing sometimes, depending on,
right.
You know, like I read this article in a music magazine about a drummer that he records his drums out in the middle of the ocean. He goes on a boat with his drum set.
Yo.
And he records in the middle of the ocean because you so much room.
Now the space.
Right, the space around you, and you drumming loud on a boat. So you're recording that.
And that kind of goes against like studio theory, because the studio theory is to keep everything confined.
The drums come out so fucking incredibly slapping, and you put the compressor on that bitch, and you know you got yourself some incredible drums. You know what I mean? Especially when you sound manipulate them.
That's the thing. When I listen to Agallah music, especially these last couple of years, I'm always excited to see what the next song is gonna be, because the drums are never the same.
Nah.
There's a lot of producers. Sometimes they do it all the time. Sometimes some projects get stuck in that mode, and you know what drums are gonna keep coming.
Use a kick and a snare a lot. I use a kick and a snare. I have a favorite kick and a snare that I use a lot. I'm not gonna lie, and I have a habit of using it a lot. But I layer it with ghost drums. I layer them with ghost drums, so you won't be able to tell. You know what I mean? Because the frequency, I'm changing them all the time, but I'm keeping a step on rhythm when I have, like it's like a drum set. I look at it like that. Like I don't look at myself as a programmer. I look at it like an actual drum set. I want this to sound like I'm playing real drums, even if I'm doing it off a machine. It gotta have some kind of, just a live feel, a good live analog feel that is all I'm searching for. But everybody has their way of making beats. I just know that the analog way, I'm used to a lot of separating, finding records that have a left mono and a right mono side. That way I can split them in two. Or I can take drums from another record and slow them down, slow the tempo down, chop them different, re-manipulate them. I don't care if the drums is 110 BPM. I'm going to slow those drums down to 80. I'm going to figure out how I could time stretch everything to get that sound that I want. You know what I mean? I'm going to dig deep. I'm going to go dig deep for that one little kick. If it's going to change the record and make the record sound better, I'm going to go get that. You know what I mean? It's like scavenger hunting.
I see it. Fast forwarding, you did Ghoul 2, The Revival. The Agal Ghoul, the first one is one of my favorite albums in your catalog.
No doubt.
Easily. Ghoul 2 continued that, The Revival. You had Aggravated, which I mentioned before. You know what I mean? That had the Billy Man Rebellion on it. That's what I was mentioning. Had another song with Lil B too. Another great album. I'm flying through some of them. Then you had the Rona 2, and you ended the 2020 with the Rona 2. And because you extended some of the ideas that are still prophetic, because people weren't thinking like that. Only a few of us now are thinking like that. The transhumanism ideas. You had other guys like M1 and Hakeem. They really dropped jewels that were in line with the thoughts that we're thinking. Others that are more revolutionary minded, thinking about it. And I want to ask you one question, though, only because you highlight MCs, and this is a brother of mine, one of my first students I haven't taught the knowledge of self to. Tell me about working with Infinite Mind.
Infinite Mind. The God, man, it was a pleasure working with him, understanding how he's a dope MC. I didn't know about him until I came to Miami, and it was brought to my attention that he knew somebody that, close to, my peoples, and then we wound up building, and I didn't know that he was your student. And I was like, I know the God student. So it even made it more of a, easy for me to work with him, because I knew that he, had knowledge of self, and he was about something. You know what I mean? As soon as you, that's like an automatic. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, the God taught you. He's like, yeah, you enlightened me. You know what I mean? Showed me the lessons we was building, and invited me to his rest, and wound up laying that joint right then and there on the spot. And then he laid his verse. I had to line it up. I went back to my crib because, Tom was of essence. He had to go pick up his seeds and all that. But we got the record done in about 2 days. And wound up, sending it back to him. And, people love that record. I love that record a lot.
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the great records. And it's also a great record with Thurston Howell, though. And I love the theme that you hit there. You know what I mean? Like a song about Boricua identity and what it means. And I've spoken to so many. One of the themes that I talked that was in the beginning part of my career as a journalist ended up being a real life situation I was dealing with. So I'm documenting something I'm suffering as well. And that was being Puerto Rican, trying to contribute in hip hop culture and not being able to. And this was, like when people go, Soonius, how come you were in all the magazines but not in them as much? Because I had to leave all of them. They wouldn't let me write about it unless I wrote about Puerto Ricans. They didn't accept that we were co-creators in this culture.
Nah,
they didn't accept any of that. And I heard this from countless artists that if you were too light and looked too Puerto Rican, whatever the fuck that means,
right?
You couldn't get a deal. And if you were darker, don't talk about the culture that much. Keep it to where it could be more African American, relatable. You know what I mean? These are facts that I've documented. You know what I'm saying? And someone that has been successful like you since the mid '90s, I always wanted to know your specific experiences like that, because I feel it comes to full steam with that song with Thurston Howell.
Well, no, make no mistake. I feel like, being from Puerto Rican culture.
Absolutely.
We were there from the beginning. When all this started, we was right there at the beginning. Very much so with hip hop in general. We not just right. Rap, not just rapping.
The elements.
All 5 elements completely. And I could name names. I could say a name. Names like Charlie Rock. There's other dudes that I could name that's Puerto Rican. Power Rule. You know what I'm saying?
Indeed, piece of power, big bro.
They've been around for a minute. You know what I'm saying? And it's a lot of us that don't get the credit that we deserve. Even me, I feel like a lot. You know what I'm saying? But I don't, no longer look at Puerto Rican as a race. It's a culture. And at the end of the day, that's the confusion in America to make us seem like we're not part of something when we are part of it. You know what I mean? We've been part of this culture. We dictate the culture. We're not a part of it. We structure this. We are the foundation that built what you see now. You know what I mean? The foundation started from there. You know what I mean? From where
I see where you come from.
Right. And at the end of the day, what's going on with this society is that they're trying to erase the history that we created. With all of these, like I said, the media won't shed the light on a true forefathers. Nas just put out the documentary with Video Music Box. I didn't see it yet, right, but at the end of the day,
good, yeah.
I was on Video Music Box.
Indeed, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and I just was recently on a new show because I just performed for Cool V and Biz Markie in Queens. Cool V asked me to come out and do a tribute for Biz.
Oh, that's peace.
So I went and did that. And Video Music Box filmed it. They aired it and everything. But my whole thing is that we live in a time where, history couldn't be erased. These kids don't know who started what, who was there in the beginning, or we're not teaching it enough for them not to care. And I feel like I have to be able to keep the reminder all times, like, you know what I mean? Like, facts, like, you know what I mean? Even before that battle league or whatever, to respect all of them young battlers. Disaster knows who I am. Because at the end of the day, like, Cannabis could tell you stories about me. I mean, one day, this story, I'm going to let it out right here. Like, I'm going to keep reminding heads. Cassidy knows that he got smoked by me backstage in front of Wyclef. Busta Rhymes and Cannabis was right there when we battled. All right? And I didn't even say no rhymes written. I went off the head, bro. Toasted them, and I got witnesses. And Cannabis got it on tape somewhere, but won't release the tapes. See, that's what I'm saying. I already proved myself to a lot of these dudes. They know what it is. They know Agallah's no walk in the park, and I will continue to be, non-passive on these dudes. I will not be passive. I will not. It's hard to get. It's hard. Like for real. Like I got. It's a lot of new cats out there, but my veteranship is off the chain.
Absolutely. And to close that, a great song with Thurston, and again. The concept is, for those that listen, know that I teach we're the original people. But this hip hop shit was created by a diaspora of original people. An entire diaspora of original people. There are books out there by scholars, though, and I won't mention them now because I don't feel like giving any fucking shine. But there are scholars that they got scholarship, they got PhDs, and they actually will say that hip hop isn't Jamaican. You know what I mean? The foolery that we have here, and that Kool Herc's contributions were minimal, and that's why it's more of an African-American culture. And see, these are the things that separate us as African-Americans, thinking that they have no connection with us.
I know for a fact that reggae was a big contribution to hip-hop before hip-hop was even a genre.
That's right. That's right.
The DJing came from a lot of DJs that was already doing Serwin Vegas speakers, and they was already DJing
toasting style.
It was that level of reggae that I feel that hip hop took its core from, because a lot of the early records you hear, damn near every KRS-One record on that BDP album, he's chatting on damn near every record.
Well,
that's what I'm saying.
His battle with Kane, he was basically
he's straight chatting.
Yeah, he was chatting.
He thinking he a reggae artist, but you know what I mean. But he considered hip hop. Yeah. See, that's the foolery that I don't like when people say, "Oh, KRS is the best hip hop MC," whatever. No, my nigga be chatting too. So it's like, I don't know what to believe. Some of these niggas is stealing from reggae. Like, a lot of the records, niggas can't tell me Don Barron, when Pooba and Don Barron, they was using reggae choruses with Don Barron. Reggae was a big force back then in hip hop before it even became a big genre. You know what I mean? Yeah. Reggae played a huge part in that.
I'll say this though. This is my thought. If an MC can do all these things, it just makes him a better master of ceremony. Like if an MC like Lauryn Hill has a great singing voice, I consider that MCing too.
Remember Redhead Kingpin?
You
remember Redhead?
Yeah.
I thought his first album was one of the best albums I ever heard in my life. I would go find his first album because he had one song called Kilimanjaro, and I was banging on there. I don't know, but it was all style-y, you know what I mean? He was flipping the style-y on that. I chat too, you know what I mean? I was doing it,
And that was my whole point though, about like this diaspora and it getting black. And I thought that what you and Thurston did was great, you know what I mean? And I love to hear Thurston on when Thurston. A lot of people think of Thurston as just a battle bar MC. And he has such great themes in his music, you know what I mean? And they explore. So, peace to Big Bro.
Peace to Big.
For those that don't know,
Big
Low. Big Vic Lowe's the one who named me Skillustrator, you know what I mean? But talking about themes, let's get to the Francisco Blanco album. What were you thinking there? Because that shit is like, it relates. I'm thinking like this is like Agallah, but it's not like Agallah. It's like, it has similarities, differences.
I wanted to come in, creating, as a creative mind, wanted to come into it as creating this character. You know what I mean? Like creating a mindset. That really, people want to follow a mindset, a person that has, you know, a mindset that stands out, that leads them into, you know, greater levels. And Francisco was a character I made up in my mind. Like, yo, what if there's a dude that just, you know, did it all, went through, you know, he was getting ready to exit out the game, needed do one more job, and then you know what I mean, you disappear off the grid forever. You know what I mean? You erase your name off the, you know, the databases. You can't be found nowhere. You live somewhere on an island. You know what I mean? And you leave a book behind, you know, with all these jewels for the next dude to find it. You know what I'm saying? So his life can get organized, but you know what I mean? You gotta, you know, it's just a movie idea. I'm into movies, and I feel like, you know, I wanted to create a movie, but on an album. I wanted to create a movie, but on an album version of a movie that you could just listen to, like, oh shit, this is going down.
Definitely an album that has grown on me more and more with more listens. The depth of it, the details of it, and just the joy of trying to flesh out the character. You know, like you listen to it more to see like what this character's thinking about, what you were thinking about when you were trying to do it. It's a really fun album. Some of the songs are highlights. Like I thought that Alpine Glaciers was incredible. You know what I'm saying?
One of my favorites, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, when I was talking about using the way you use vocals as a choir, you know what I'm saying? It comes off like a choir instead of just like some singing that was sampled.
I'm into the, you know, I realize when people make music, they don't get into the theatrical side of what the theatrical music side brings to the table as well. Like I want, you know, I've been in a lot of Broadway plays and stuff, and the music I hear in Broadway plays be fucking incredible. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I go to like some Broadway plays and shit, and I listen to some shit they do at the Broadway play. I'm like, damn, that's how they make all that shit sound, you know, flawless. I mean, that's why Broadway shows, you know, if you know, go to a Broadway show and you check out, I remember Bringing the Noise and the Funk, and my the homie, Sabian, that's my homie, Sabian, and you know, I just learned a lot from the theater aspect of how music is done in theaters, and I try to bring that to my production as well, and bring that Broadway experience on the album. That's what I did.
I think what works so much, Agallah, is that it's so orchestral, but it's not overdone. It's not bombastic, like where you're overdoing it. You know, like, oh, he's just trying to make it sound like that way. It's very organic.
Yeah, definitely, and how it plays out, you know, it's, you know, similar to a Broadway play. For what I would highly suggest artists get more to the theater, you know, to expand their artistic horizons. You know what I'm saying?
I like that. Yeah. Indeed. Another great album you released was Agallah, you know, and I'll preface this to say you mentioned power, right? And I always mention this to everybody. When everybody has themes about what the old New York was that we came through, the effects of gentrification,
right?
I always mention the crew that Power Rule, now goes by Marcano, started, called The Leftovers. Because one day some you know, grafted people that was up there in Bushwick, they mentioned and they referred to Marcano and others as the Leftovers, you know what I mean?
Wow.
And so he called the collective the Leftovers, of which I'm a part of, and our whole basis is about being a group that is against gentrification. And I think one of the dopest, very subtle, it's not preachy in any kind of way, but Agallah does that against gentrification in a way like pictorializing the old New York, the old Brooklyn from the dope album cover.
Yeah, like I can't even go to.
Always somebody that was grabbing that bus.
I'm
you know
angry that I can't go to my old beef patty spot on Flatbush Avenue. He used to be a beef patty spot there where they serve mad beef patties, and it's not there no more. You know, maybe the pizza shop, you know, as well, or the barber shop I used to go to, not there anymore. Right. Those things, you know, I hold dearly in my life. Like, and you know, when you take those things away from the neighborhood that we from, and you put people that are not from the neighborhood in those places, you send a huge fear to the people that live in that neighborhood. You sending a huge fear because you know they you know. We can't go in, it's crazy. You can't go in the middle of white America and open up a beef patty store, but white America go right in your hood and open up a salon where the beef patty store used to be, which is really weird to me. Like, I don't find equality in that, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I had to speak on that because when I came back to New York, I started seeing a different city that I'm from. I'm from the old New York, so this new York, I don't really know too much about it. I'm being honest with you.
It's really like it's a new place.
Yeah, it's a new place.
Yeah, definitely. And there's so much great music. The fly dedications, is the examples are given. The way you use vocals. If you want to know what it means and see the Lost Village, because he has an actual guest appearance, right? Blue Raspberry.
Blue Raz. Shout out to Blue Raspberry.
Other vocal things going on, and it sets up such a beautiful atmosphere. Man, Planet Asia must have loved that track because he killed that one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
How that started was I made the beat. I was playing the beat on Instagram, and then Blue tapped in on my live, heard the beat. Okay. She was like, yo, and then she started singing to it right on my live.
Oh, shit.
I was like, yo, I recorded the live, right? I stripped the vocals from the live. Right? Because there's like an app that I could download and then, it strips the vocal for you, this app online. Strips the vocal. So I took the vocal, fucked with it, sampled it, resampled it, looped the part that she was, harmonizing, and then came with that shit, man. She's incredible.
That shit came out amazing.
Yes.
That came out amazing.
One of my favorite joints. Yeah, the Lost Village.
It's same here. You know what I mean? And, there's just other songs like Blessed, but there's like a warped vocal in there that caused like a suffocating effect. You know what I mean?
Right.
It just, there's so much fun to listen to. I mean, we're talking about a catalog, like, there's over almost 130 songs the last 2 years you've released, and just amazing work. And it leads up to what I think is probably the best work of 2021 that you released. One of the best records of the year was High Level Art.
No
After
doubt.
all that I said about all these other records.
And two. But don't forget one and two.
I made note of that. I'm just saying High Level Art is the length of a double CD. You know what I'm saying? It's 74 minutes. You know what I'm saying? I've listened to this so many times. There's just so much good music on this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's like I'm throwing the kitchen sink at the competition. That's what I envision it. I envision it as that.
Like I'm gonna show everybody I can do the best musicianship ever, because
yes,
the more you listen to High Level Art, the more it's like, yo, there's so much quality to it. Like a lot of great albums have more lapses in quality. Producers, and it's not just producers' fault. It's guys make albums and they can't always get it EQ'd right. They have to take it here, they have to take it there. You have the advantage. Nothing's getting fucked up. Like every song is correct here. You know what I'm saying? Like
everything is a one-man army on a relentless run. And that album right there, originally it was supposed to be called Agskiot. And I had lost a hard drive, and I was really pissed. Like I was just like, fuck, I lost all the songs that I just recorded. Evidently, my boy had a copy of most of the songs I did on his computer, so I had to fly back to LA to get all the songs off that computer. And when I got back to the studio in LA, I was like, damn, I'm gonna just change the whole idea. It must have Ascii must not been the, the vision that I thought that I had. So I went, revised it. While I was out there, I was recording. While I was fixing up High Level Art too, I was recording Nostalgia. You know what I mean? I was recording Nostalgia and working on that at the same time. Like I would record Nostalgia, then I would go fix up all the files for this. You know what I mean? I would because a lot of this was already recorded already. I already had it recorded already. I just didn't have it mixed. It wasn't, mastered or none of that. And shout out to my engineer. My engineer. He did a wonderful job. And basically, you know what I'm saying. Omar Cortez. Shout out to Omar Cortez. Shout out to William Bostic as well. Willie B. Who helped me out when I came to the East Coast. He helped me out on mixing the last two projects.
There's so much stuff on this record. You know what I mean? Jump Street, I wrote here, deafening keys in the chorus. And then there's this isolated, I call it a tri-stab horn, because it's coming in 3 times. Doom, 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 the horn. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it's like a 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like
right. Yeah, and then the drums, they're like these. I call them sand scratchy because they scratch, but they're like soft. It's a soft scratch. You know what I mean? Like every one of your drums you could describe differently. It's so much fun, and it's fun to write about because it gets real boring to write about the same drum all the time.
Nah, the drums. You know what I mean? Drum. I specialize in cracking the drums down, man.
One of the best songs though was with Kool Keith. That song, just the track, the way, it's filled up beautifully.
Shout out to Kool Keith.
The drums,
one of my favorite
tempo.
MCs of all time.
Indeed.
I made it like that. I want it like that. I got it like that. I need it like that. For you whack MCs, I don't care. That shit right there, to me.
But see, people think of Kool Keith and they think of Black Elvis, the craziness of Kool Keith.
Ultra.
Right? And they would give him a real weird funk track or something, and you gave him something that was beautiful. This is a gorgeous track.
Right. I had to give him something that was...
If I had the instrumental, we could play this around the ladies. This is beautiful. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Sweet shit.
Yeah,
it was dope.
I remember, tracking him down for this song. The way you track Keith down it takes skill to track him down to get the song done. You know what I mean? You got to go,
You could have called that one APB too, right?
Yeah, but it was I had to get in touch with his engineer. I had to go through a little. I had to go through the procedures to get to him.
Right.
And how he does his music is he works early in the day. So you got to be at the studio early, 12 o'clock.
Okay.
By 12 o'clock, 11. Even 11 in the morning. You got to, he works at those hours. So if you're trying to get a song done with Keith, you got to be up early. And then I had to get to the Bronx on top of that from Brooklyn. So it was oh, shit, all right, damn, can't fuck this up. Here go, And as soon as I got there, he was already working on music. But, I came, gave him a bottle, make sure he right, you know what I mean? I never like to come empty-handed, especially when you're dealing with a great like him. So I'm yo, here, boom, here's a bottle for you. Set the mood right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then, he, I said, I got to go get something to eat, man, and I'll be right back. He said, oh, man, I'll be done with the verse by the time you finish coming back.
Get out.
And I got back, the verse was done. I went to go walk
he
up
wrote
the block.
That during the time that you went to get...
Yes. I went to the...
Master.
I went to get some Spanish food up the block, and I came back. Shit was done. I'm damn, you done that fast? Then I was damn.
It's not pedestrian.
My verse is already done. You know what I mean? My verse is already done, but he aced that shit like it was nothing.
Wow.
And then he showed me mad more rhymes that he had, like books of rhymes, like on deck. He's like, man, I got joints of rhymes, B. I was like, yo, he walked in the studio with a duffel bag full of rhymes. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, for real. Like, Keith is no joke. He walks in there with a whole bag of rhymes ready. Me, I write on paper and shit, but if I got it, I ain't walking around with all my rhymes. You know what I'm saying? I'm leaving them shits in the crib. You actually walking around with all your raps.
Right, yeah.
So I'm like, okay, you ain't playing with niggas. I get it. You know what I'm saying? You ain't here to play. He in there for real. So then after we did that song, he said, now you got to do a song for me. I was like, all right. So I got to work right in there. He gave me this beat. It's supposed to be on his next album, and I'm on his next album.
I look forward to that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to that because like to be
That's dope, but that sounds cool Keithish. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the shit that I'm on, the shit that I spit, I like it because it's like I had to step outside my box and get in Keith's world for a minute, you know. And
did you think that when you made the track for him, though, that you were making him step outside of his box?
No, I knew it was gonna work because like he has a distinctive voice, and he knows how to. I mean, he knows how to reinvent. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I get a page out. I took a page out of his book. I ain't gonna lie, I did. Not style wise, but just as a great, you know what I mean. You take a page from these greats, man. You know what I mean. And
Indeed,
like I seen how he was reinventing himself as different artists. I seen he kept, one day he Matthew, another day he Black Elvis, another day he Dr. Octagon. He getting a check in different places. I was like, damn, I can get all these checks too.
He was doing, but with the money way, he was doing what George Clinton did, Parliament, Funkadelic, getting the bands and polying the labels like that.
He got shit with Ice-T, the Analog Brothers. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
Analog Brothers. That's right.
Yeah, so it's like
that shit is fire too.
He just kept. Even with my man No Name, they got some shit. Like he did shit with a couple of my niggas that ain't even rappers. He just like he like they energy.
That whole idea of being able to reinvent yourself. I mean, he's really the standard bearer of that. Sean P, right? Because he goes from what he was doing in Elton to be more free. Let me just be Sean P myself. You got Doom. I mean, the legendary Doom. Remember the Perfection. I mean. A lot of the stuff that Doom was doing. I mean, Doom wasn't the first to wear the mask.
Nah. I mean,
it was really Keith.
Yeah. Everybody took a page out of Keith's book. I feel like a lot of these rappers did. You know what I'm saying? And he's a Billy Goat. You know what I'm saying? He calls me a Billy Goat too. You know what I'm saying? Like on the track that we did, like we talk about being Billy Goats. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's
we like old Billy Goats.
Yeah. Maybe I'll write a whole Billy Goat category. The Billy Goats of hip hop.
Yeah. He's definitely a Billy Goat out here. You know what I mean? Fact.
Yo, there's so much dope stuff in here. High level art. The music is incredible. I could go all on about this. And I guess it also has some full circle with it too, making a song with EPMD too.
Yeah, that right there. I put a lot of work with them on their last 2 gold and platinum projects.
A lot of their late '90s stuff you reinvigorated.
Yeah, I was in. I mean,
that's a fact.
I was down with Def Squad and his squad at one point. Like Derek wanted to sign me, it never happened. Because of Onyx. They didn't know what they wanted to do with me. Like I said, I was being held back.
So you kind of stuck in there, right?
Yeah, like, I battled Keith Murray one time in front of Eric Sermon. He's like, who is that nigga? I want him. I was like, and then I almost got signed, but then Fred Joe stepped in the way and was like, nah, we got him. You know what I mean? And it was like,
Right.
Yeah, I fumbled that. You know what I'm saying? But I still wound up raising to the occasion.
As a reference note, those PMD solos, the second PMD solo, right? That's a solo album.
Right.
the EPMD
Back
album,
in Business,
right? Back in Business. I mean, that's what gets EPMD back. You know what I mean?
Well, the story is that when EPMD broke up, Parrish didn't have any real sound because his producer left.
Yeah.
So I wound up stepping in and doing that album and did Rough, Rugged, and Raw, which garnered him the deal from Relativity for $1 million for a solo deal. So I wound up stepping in as the new sound, the new guy. Daz Effects came to me when I was on tour. They came on my tour bus because we was both on the same tour, but they came on my tour bus and listened to some songs we did. Then I went, they introduced me to PMD. He was like, yo, you got to play that beat for PMD. And then I went on their tour bus and played it for PMD, and then that's how I got the placement.
Bangers.
Made history.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because the first PMD solo album, it's like Eric Sermon was mainly sampling funk. So I guess PMD tried to continue with the funk, but it sounded too West Coast. And it wasn't really working for him. And it was sounding like, and his flow was,
PMD,
because of it, his flow was really slow.
When he did the deal, and he had the deal over at RCA, I believe it was RCA at the time. That album was not his best work, and I think he was coming out of a confused moment with Eric at that time, and he was trying to find himself because he was in a dark place in his career. And then, he had another artist named Top Quality, I believe that was that time.
Yeah, that was the name. Yeah, with Magnum Opus is the album. Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
and that didn't work either.
Right.
So
yeah, because the sound is not not whack, but it doesn't fit.
They had to find the next hot guy, and I was that next hot guy up on on the mantle, and that's what I did. I helped bring that man out of a dark place. And, that record with EPMD, was a long time coming. You know what I'm saying? Because I was never considered Hit Squad or Def Squad, but I put in the work with them. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They know that. I got records right now in my crib that me and PMD got that never came out, but I got them. I was able to get my hands on a whole bunch of records, and I don't know when I'm going to release it, maybe next year. I don't know how I'm going to release it. I got to do it in a Smithsonian type way because none of these records ever came out. This is an experience to listen to. A bunch of freestyles, dope shit, me and PMD going in. You know what I mean? Like, it's... I went there. You'll hear it.
Oh man, I look forward to that.
Like right now, I feel. Sometimes I forget I have it, and I know it's.
Let me ask you a question, Agallah, because we've been doing this. You've made so many great records these last 2 years. You've consistently been dope for the whole 2010s. Like, you're making all these solo records for yourself. How come all these people aren't knocking on your door and say, "Do my whole album"?
Because the bullshit comes with not having the right money or not having the right budget, not doing the right business, not having the right professional mindsets that I respect when it comes to making some music. And I know a lot of dudes out here want my beats, but they're not handling the business professionally. And I'm going to just say that straight up and down. They're not professional at all. They don't want to pay the producer what he's worth, and they think, paying a producer is hurting them. Actually, you know what I mean? It's really benefiting you because your career shines because you're paying me. You're going to shine if you pay me. My job is to make sure that the artist shines. I just can't do that for free. And I'm not out here trying to be that,
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm not trying to be that example. I got bills that have to be paid and certain quotas that have to be met, and I can't.
There's so many great MCs today.
I can't do that, just by saying you're dope and I'm a dope producer. It has to be tied in on some professional scale when we're making money.
Understood.
And that's the, even the gods, we like to say that, we can get by physically and spiritually, but we got to work on that financial part too. You know what I mean? That financial part, you know what I mean? We got to dedicate some energy to that as well in order for us to get to the next chapter of our careers and our lives. Straight up.
Indeed. And I appreciate that answer because, it's just great music. And then, of course,
like for instance, I know Sean Price ain't here. You know what I mean? I know he not here. He's, on the Essence. But this is a true fact. He did not have any money to pay me when we did those records. When I put him on, when I did Telemundo for him, I didn't charge him. For jail shit that I produced on Monkey Bars. I didn't get paid for that from Duck Down. I didn't get paid for Duck Down using my record, Rising to the Top feature. That's my record. I let Sean use that because he needed to shine, and I knew why what I did was for a friend. It wasn't for no industry. But at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? This is a business that you got to eat off of. I felt like I'm owed money. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, because I provided a service that I didn't have to do. I didn't have to do that. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't. I didn't. You know what I mean? I wasn't like mandatory for me to do that when I'm doing that because I show love. But you see how sometimes love will stab you.
It's
wrong
real
way.
Though. What's real is that
with a lot of these artists, they don't want to pay you. They don't want to pay you what they worth. They think they can get the love from you because you know certain person or certain people that know me that allows you to think that I can do free beats for you. That's not what we're here for at all. You know what I mean? Like I can't let people think that's what I'm about. Like you can get a free beat from me. Nah, that's not happening. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like it gotta come with some financial tie to it. And we gotta do it like real business. This is $1 billion business. Jay-Z is at that level showing us.
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate that. Last album to mention of this incredible 2-year run, High Level Art 2. So when you did High Level Art 1, the first one, this long 74-minute album that doesn't feel that way, what makes it High Level Art 2 and a shorter work? Are these leftovers? They do have a difference to this sound, somewhat of a difference. Or I don't know if that's me trying to nitpick and try to, figure out a difference.
Well, High Level Art 2 was more of an exhibit of, like I was just trying to make exhibits of art. And the Blake Side Pavilion was really more or less, just a spectrum of, my work, that, you may get a shorter express version of High Level Art through Blake Side Pavilion. If you don't want to listen to all them songs in one shot deal, you can go to High Level Art 2 and you know what I mean?
I got it.
And get your fix there. You know what I mean? There's certain ways people can get their fixes, you know what I mean? And how you package them and how you deliver these fixes, allows the experience to happen.
Right, because there's no shortage or like these don't sound like lesser songs. Variant. I love the instrumentation on that.
Right.
This one to me, there's a surround sound effect in the way that you make beats. You know what I'm saying? And that was a great example of that. You know what I mean? And there's like these vocals that whistle through the song. That's how it came off like a whistle. The way the vocals sound, it's just really dope to listen to. You know what I mean?
Right. And it that's that. I try to scope what I feel. I can make musically and soundscape it. That matches this what's going on, what we're dealing with. Variant, definitely. I like the way that set off the project. RBX gave me the blessing. That's Dr. Dre's first cousin. Right. So getting a blessing from Dr. Dre's first cousin is like just as good as Dre to me. You know what I mean? I just feel like, you know, the acknowledgement is there, and it's getting ready to, you know, getting ready to spread to another value, you know, sooner or more. But yeah, Variant, I love that beat.
Yeah.
Real good, real good.
Powerful. You know what I mean?
Output.
To me, Denial sounded like a reckless orchestra. You know what I mean? Then the drums come in. Again, the way the drums come in on your songs, it's always emphatic. It's always epic. You know what I'm saying? It always gets your adrenaline going. It's,
right.
And it's done right. You know what? Because whether it's just when the drums come in, they come in right on the instruments. They don't come separate. They don't feel like drums are added on to something. You know what I mean?
Nah, I try to leave them. I try to leave everything, you know, production. When I'm producing something, has to, you know, I'm trying to fill the spaces, like you said earlier, fill out the open holes and put things in these holes that create the shape of, you know, of greatness, you know, in a sound format that you can listen to the shit and say, damn, it doesn't sound like he's trying to sound like anybody else. No, he's not. I'm not trying to make music that sounds like any other producer or not. I'm very non-traditional when it comes to making a lot of these records. You know what I mean? Like, what is in this? What could be in this beat that's not in their beats? You know what I mean? That's what I look at when I listen to production. What is in my beats that's not in theirs? You know what I mean? But still sounds quality. The quality is crazy. It's incredible. It's there. It's all sorts of funkiness happening, and you know, it's dope. It's just pure originality, and I feel like I base a lot of, you know, my creativity being original. Even though no idea is new under the sun, but when you out here dealing with alchemy and you look at what I start with and how I start with one simple 4-second loop, but it winds up turning into something so big, like 20 minutes later after I'm there as a scientist, fucking with it, not settling. You understand? I don't settle, and that's what I do when I make music. I don't settle, and I just keep that same discipline when I make music. Don't settle, don't settle, don't settle, don't settle, don't settle, and that's where we at.
Absolutely. And you know, again, artists that you were putting on way before, working with, continue to work with throughout albums, like Recognize Ali, artists that a lot of people of your level would act like they don't know who they are, but you have them and they're up and coming. They're making dope records now. Bub Styles.
Shout out to Rome Streets.
You know what I mean? Oh yeah, piece of Rome Streets. You know what I mean? And you were doing records with Rome Streets before people were saying, "Oh, Rome Streets is the it guy." You know what I'm saying? Before he was that guy.
I was shot the real Big Ox, because Big Ox introduced me to. Introduced me to
Indeed.
Rome, and
peace to Rome Streets. When
he's
we talk
having
about
he's
one of the best MCs.
I salute him on his Griselda run.
Absolutely.
I wish him the best. I hope that man has much success. He deserves it. He's been putting in work. I've seen it. You know, I was in. You know, it's like a boxer being in the gym with another young boxer.
Absolutely.
He's that up and coming guy, and
I say this though. This is, and people that listen, this is not really like a fucking revelation, you know, but I salute Griselda because they probably have put on the best MC in their clique. That's the best MC.
Oh yeah. I mean, I like Mag Hami. I like Mag Hami as well. I like him.
I think they're all dope.
I like the other guy. What's the other guy's name? Dump God. That's his name. Oh, I forgot his name, man. I forget, yeah. You know, your old Droog, I like him too. He's
Right.
I like Nems. Nems is my boy. I know Nems. Nems
Bing
been
bong.
putting in, he been putting in work for a minute.
Yeah.
You know,
it's great to see Nems blowing up.
Yeah, it's great to see him getting his due. He been hot,
Absolutely.
he been on the circuit for a minute, and that's what happens, man. You know, nothing overnight. He went a different angle with the Gorilla brand, and it took off. It took off.
Everything looks dope.
I need some new shit if you're listening, Nems. Please.
Indeed. But Agallah, through this whole show, the entire goal of mine was to show the level of excellence that you're achieving right now. That to me, I think it parallels to the greatness of all the work you've done.
Thank you.
The meaning, I think that in time, the meaningfulness of your work today hopefully will be as cherished as it is with what you gave VPMD, what you gave Onyx, what you gave all these great artists. What you gave Busta Rhymes, the Dipset, you know what I'm saying? All of these people, because you're still giving yourself now that next level shit. And for the first time we get to hear Agallah give himself his best shit.
Yeah, I feel like now I'm in contention as one of the top MCs of this year. Finally, shout out to DJ Premier. I speak with Premier a lot. We, been having a lot of conversations just about life. Taking your kids to the baseball game and stuff like that. You learn a lot, from the greats, and I try to keep the company of greatness around, me, because I want to be there. I want to be in that contention of, being one of them MCs that, rose above the competition. They thought he was an underdog, but he had fight in him, and that's what I want people to know, that, the willpower, the dog in me allows me not to quit, allows me not to hear the critics, allows me to look past the negative that people have to say about me, allows me to look forward into a spectrum and just show forth in the work. People thought I was mad at Griselda at one point. They tried to label it as that. I was not mad at them. I actually had a real disagreement, disrespect with Conway. And it had nothing to do with music. It was outside the fact that he came at me a certain way and it had to get handled. Straight up. I'm not going to let no man disrespect me. I'm not here for that. But I understand you have to pick your battles wisely in the game, and now I'm peace with Griselda. I don't have no beef with them. We handled it. We spoke on it like, man, he issued his apology on live Instagram, and I respect the man for it.
That's peace.
And we over. That's it. No more of that. Everybody that tried to condemn me had nothing to do with the situation. We know, the situation with Flea Lord. He don't even know me. There was a situation with other dudes that, like I said, they want to come at the big dog barking, but they don't have the resume to do it. You know what I mean? And this is where you got to look at, it's the proof is in the pudding. Hip-hop heads know what it is. You know what I mean? Regardless of who you listen to. You know what I mean? Regardless of popularity. I'm a motherfucking veteran. You can't take that away from me. Niggas done threw the kitchen sink at me already. I'm still standing, bro. What else you gonna do? What else can you do? Nothing.
Well, indeed, one of the things that can't be taken away is that you're still doing it now at this high level. You know what I mean? And my thing is, like, if we erase...
I'm running laps around niggas as soon as. That's what I'm doing. I'm running laps around these niggas, straight up. I'm not out here walking in the park.
I would hope that some of these great MCs that are out now would get that money up. Because I'd love to hear some of these great MCs on music with yours.
Oh, yeah,
and I think that they would learn a lot making music with yours and see how it sounds to make these kind of songs.
The competition, though, they know what they need to do.
I'm just putting it out there for myself, whatever influence I have. You know what I mean? Agallah, it's a real honor and a pleasure to always be building, to be documented, to be inspired.
My pleasure being here, too. My pleasure being here, too, because... I respect your word. I respect what you're doing. And, brother, more power to you. You know what I mean? Like, you know, what I see you, you know, it's always a positive vibe. I like what you're doing here, and we need to get this out more. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Get it out to the, you know, those minds that need to take the inspiration and use it for their inspiration and make something out of their lives. You know what I mean? We only here to help. You know what I mean? At the end of the day,
Indeed,
but now I'm, you know, I've seen what it is. You know, not to, you know, to take something for granted. Never take nobody for granted.
Indeed, Agallah. Indeed. Until next time, there'll be a lot more stories to tell, writings to recite, and records to rewind and reminisce. For my guest, Agallah, one of the greatest musicians in the history of hip-hop. Simply. I'm your host, Sunni Agallah, a.k.a. S.STREET Low, and as always, the Power Ratio is a never respect fake broadcast. Peace.
Yo, and before we out, next year is the Year of the Tiger. I'm dropping a project called the Year of the Tiger next year. Enjoy this new project I just released today. It's called Purple Death Society with a producer named Shaughnessy. Ice Cold.
That's right.
And you know, have the rest of a beautiful 2020. 2021. I'll see y'all in 2022.
Indeed. Peace.
Peace.